Hi all, I'm Dan Smigrod, founder of the We Get Around Network Forum. Today is Thursday, January 21st, 2021, and you're watching WGAN TV live at 5. We have an awesome show for you today. Realtor.com enables Ask the Room to easily publish to Realtor.com. That news just breaking 2 days ago on Tuesday. Plus, we're going to talk about Ask the Room new a la carte pricing for real estate photographers. And joining here, Eric, good to see you again.
Hello, Dan. Hello, everybody.
Awesome. We got Ask the Room co-founder and CEO Eric Sieh joining us to talk about the big news. Eric, Realtor.com has 86 million unique monthly visitors. Give us the context of why real estate photographers should be super excited about this big news. Realtor.com enables Ask the Room to easily publish to Realtor.com.
Sure. Thank you, Dan. So no matter what kind of tour solution you use, Matterport, Ask the Room, Zillow 3D, so on and so forth, the whole point of creating a tour is so the buyers and the potential sellers can see it, right? And we're really excited that we can leverage the 86 million monthly visitors of Realtor.com and to really push these tours out to these home buyers, therefore helping the agent to sell home faster, get more offers, so on and so forth.
Awesome. Let me read a little bit from the Realtor.com press release that went out just 2 days ago and ask you to comment on it. Just take me a moment to call up that screen. And a Realtor.com consumer survey conducted in spring 2020 found that 65% of home buyers believed that virtual tours would continue to be a great resource in their home shopping process even after the pandemic. And while the pandemic accelerated virtual tour adoption, at the peak of the lockdowns, listings with virtual tours received 17% more views per property. That momentum has continued. In December 2020, listings with 3D tours on Realtor.com were up 227% since the pandemic began in March 2020. You have some thoughts on that, those amazing statistics from Realtor.com?
Yeah, we probably contributed to that 200% growth. Like Ask the Room itself grew 1,000%, 10x year over year in 2020. That was quoted from the Inman article just published a couple of days ago, last week, comparing Ask the Room with Matterport. So yeah, like we are seeing a similar trend as Ask the Room continue to grow. We're excited that we're bringing more tours to our partners of Realtor.com. Obviously, there's still a lot of listings out there. I believe last time I got a number from Realtor.com, 95% of the listings still don't have a tour, right? So we're excited at how much value we can add potentially to our partner.
Awesome. Eric, how about a demo from the potential home buyer's perspective? Let's take a look at Realtor.com that has an Ask the Room 3D tour.
Okay, not a problem. So bring myself onto screen share. So this is a listing by one of the brokers that we work with of Chase International in Reno, Tahoe area. And as you can see, there's a 3D tour button in the listing detail page. Right? So this is really important. This is the differentiation between a 3D tour and a virtual tour. Right? A virtual tour, which traditionally has been just slideshows mostly and could be videos, would be displayed here as a virtual tour, whereas Matterport and Ask the Room tours are considered 3D tour, and that's how the consumer will be encouraged to click the link and to land on the tours.
So awesome. Definitely, all you did was click on the 3D tour badge, and then up comes the Ask the Room tour. Eric, how about just giving us kind of maybe a few minute demo of Ask the Room 3D tours while we're on this page for those that might not be familiar with Ask the Room?
Yeah, sure. So every Room tour has your when you first enter the tour, you're greeted with a 3D Room 3D dollhouse. So it looks like this one, and so it we like it scans. You can see it scans outdoors, which is different from Matterport. You can see the outdoor layout. If you have a pool, you can see that. The number two difference between a Matterport dollhouse is that you have the room labels, right? So you can see exactly what that room is used for. And other than that, it's pretty much the similar. And what you might notice is it's more of a point-to-point transition within the tour. So that means you're actually taking a lot less points. You scan a lot. You have probably like 10, 15 scans in total for this room, right? So that means you take 15 minutes at top to do the scan.
If you
And
were doing Matterport.
then if you're doing Matterport, yeah. So if you're doing Matterport for this home, it's probably a 4-bedroom home, you probably take 70 scans, right? And this one you can see is no more than 15 scans, right? So you can see if one scan is a minute at most, right? And then it will take you less than 15 minutes. And you still produce this dollhouse and floor plan, the 2D floor plan right here. Still produce like the same product as what the Matterport would produce, right? And it goes on Realtor.com just like Matterport would. So it's very comparable in terms of the outcome, but with a lot less time spent, and means you get your time back.
Okay, awesome. And then I see some thumbnails at the bottom, right behind the floor plan there. If you could close that floor plan window and maybe take us to the thumbnails. I imagine those are snapshots from the 3D tour.
Correct. Yeah. So you can use there are a couple of ways you can navigate a tour. You can use the hotspot to jump around, or you can use the thumbnail at the bottom to go to different rooms. Alternatively, this person did not add the hotspot onto the floor plan, but you can also add the hotspot to the floor plan and use the hotspot on the floor plan to jump around.
Okay, so this actually goes from being a 2D schematic floor plan to a 2D interactive schematic floor plan, such that you can click on the 360 images and go right to that space in the Room 3D tour.
Correct.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so if you could, was there anything else you wanted to show us within the Room 3D tour?
No. So what we are working on for in the near future is bring the agents and brokerage branding top left. So it will be co-branded with Realtor.com and the agent and the broker. So that just FYI.
Okay, so it just maybe if you take us one more place, is take us outside, because I think that's one of those things that's pretty unique with Room is that you can easily shoot outdoors just as you do your indoor 360s with Room. So there's no different workflow shooting the 360s for the 3D tour.
Yep.
Okay, awesome. So if you could exit that for us. And for those who want to do a deep dive into Room, Eric has been on the show a number of times, and you can get an entire show dedicated to Room 3D tours and everything about it from the front end, and a deep dive in the back end, as well as a whole nother show on virtual staging. Eric, how does a photographer add Room to a Realtor.com listing? Could you take us maybe through the desktop version of Room.com of where the photographer would have added this Room tour?
Yeah, before we go there are a couple of things I want to show on the Realtor.com site. So right now we are in the listing detail page, right? And you can see the biggest difference having a 3D tour is this 3D tour call to action, in opposed to a virtual tour. There are other places that you can see difference as well. So if I search Richmond, California, I know there's a listing it's a relatively small place. I know like there's a listing with Ashland Tour. So so these are, there are 335 homes in Richmond, California, right? So if you do one of the filters, listing status, right? As you can see, a lot of consumer, they will prefer to look at homes that have 3D tours. They will use this filter, right? And filter out their search and prioritize on looking at homes that have 3D tours. And so you can see now it got nailed down to 16, right? So let's see if I can find that listing. So this one is the one that one of our users shot. And you can see there is a 3D tour badge. So classifying that this is a 3D tour. And go inside and yeah, so it has two buttons, both 3D tour and virtual tour. So they both will point to the Ashland Tour. And this is just an experience that Realtor.com has to clean up. You know, sometimes you show only 3D tour, sometimes you show both 3D tour and virtual tour. So don't be surprised, but eventually they're gonna do something to the virtual tour button. So I don't know what they're gonna do, but they told me they were supposed to clean it up.
So at the moment, the 3D tour might point to the Astroom 3D tour, and the virtual tour might point to a video or
No, they'll both point to Ashland Tour.
Virtual tour. Okay.
Yeah, consider that as an experience that's waiting to be completed, as opposed to. Yeah. But the virtual tour will take it to the other URL, will open up another page, right, where the 3D tour is natively integrated. That makes sense?
Yes, we haven't left the page. We're still there.
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right. Before we move on, anything else to show us on Realtor.com?
Nope. Then we can go on to the uploading part.
Okay. So I'm a real estate photographer. I'm using Ask the Room. I've created my tour. I'm about to sign in on my desktop version of the Ask the Room editor. How do I upload my Ask the Room 3D tour to Realtor.com so it ends up in the right place?
Yeah, it's very easy. So I log into a personal account. And then I have one tour in there just for demo purpose. And I click share, top left, bottom right corner. And it says display my profile not available on Realtor.com, but it will be available. Like I said, this is in the future roadmap. But regardless, just do publish a tour to the listing on Realtor.com. And it's going to ask you to put in an address, right? And you can put in any address. I suppose I can put in my own address. So 25 Sierra Street, right? And I do done. And it just tells you, it's very similar to the Matterport experience, right? You take up 24 hours for your listing status to update. So we send in a feed every day at 9 o'clock. So as long as it's sent before 9 o'clock, it will show up at 9 o'clock. They will take the feed, they process it, and they probably show up at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. And just got it. And you can see the request has been sent, and you can undo there.
And for that batch that goes to Realtor.com from AskTheRoom.com, is that 9 o'clock in the morning or 9 o'clock at night?
9 o'clock Pacific time. Morning.
Morning. So that's 9 a.m. Pacific time.
Yep.
Okay, great. And so that was a street address with an individual property. What happens if it's a condo?
The same thing. You can put in the condo, right? 25 Sierra Street. Actually, the condo number is E203, and that would just do it. It doesn't auto-populate because Google Map doesn't. This is Google Map auto-populate, but Google Map doesn't auto-populate apartment number. But it's the same thing. You just put it in there and it's done.
Okay, and then correct me if I'm wrong. Is that perhaps a best practice might be going to Realtor.com and looking up exactly the address
And
for
copy.
the MLS listing. So you got the street in the northwest and the condo or the pound sign or what, so that you're using literally the exact address in order to help make sure that the Astroom 3D tour actually shows up on the correct property.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they have some machine learning and to parse the address to address mapping. But if you go to realtor.com and copy the exact address, you'll guarantee that there's no problem.
Okay, tip that I want to offer, because I know that we have a lot of members in the We Get Around Network forum, WGANforum.com, who have used Matterport to publish to Realtor.com and have experienced that problem. And the workaround, Eric, has been to literally go to Realtor.com, copy the address, paste it in the back end so that it matches up exactly, to avoid having to wait yet another day to figure it out to get it working. Okay, so this is on the back end of the Ask the Room editor on a desktop. How about showing us on a smartphone on the Ask the Room app? And I know we have hopefully we have your smartphone already on the screen, and I'm going to see if I can share it. There we go. So what we're going to do is, while Eric is setting up, he is on his smartphone is calling up the Ask the Room app and is going to show us how a real estate photographer publishes from the Ask the Room app to Realtor.com.
Yeah, so you can see this is the main screen, the main project screen, right? Again, I have one tour for demo purpose. Share, and it will be same thing. So undo the last the request, and I'll do this again. Share and publish a tour to realtor.com, and it's going to ask you to do the same thing, to put in the address, and just do that. Oh, it's a little buggy, but yeah, you just did it.
Easy peasy. Literally just go to the share button down at the bottom, publish tour to Realtor.com, enter the address, and then you're off to the races.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. And so we've just looked at two ways to publish from Ask the Room desktop editor, from Ask the Room app, either on an iPhone or an Android phone. And there's actually a third way, and that's for your real estate agent to publish the Ask the Room 3D tour to their listing. Eric, how about just turning off your smartphone? Or here, I can do that. Let me just do that. Yep, boom, got it. So the third way is for the real estate agent to publish the Ask the Room tour to Realtor.com using the Realtor.com account, going to listings, then going to the address, searching for either the address or the MLS number, then selecting virtual tour field, look for the virtual tour field. They'll have a little pencil where they can edit that field, then copy, paste the Ask the Room tour in that field, hit done, boom, it populates it on that side. And then in a similar fashion, if the real estate agent is using an MLS, they're going to publish the tour, hopefully in their MLS, that populates it in Realtor.com. But if for any reason their MLS doesn't do that, they can go right into their Realtor.com account. The real estate agent can go into the Realtor.com account and edit their listing to include the Ask the Room 3D tour. Eric, anything else on the integration of Realtor.com?
Yeah, one more thing. If they put in an MLS, and MLS will send to Realtor.com too, and if there's a conflict, right, and they will take priorities on whatever you're sending from us directly over MLS. The other question that we have been getting is, what if someone just, I'm a listing agent, what if someone maliciously send a tour to my listing that is not actual tour of my listing? So that, if that was the case, just go on to your realtor.com account and you can remove it from there.
Okay,
That's
got it. Anything else to share on this topic?
Nope.
Excuse me. I'll add just one other thing, is that realtor.com has two ways to ask for help and support. The first is by email, VT support, that's Victor Tom, or as in virtual tours, VT support @realtor.com. You can send a note and there's a separate support line specifically for virtual tours meets realtor.com. And they also have a special phone number that you can call, 866-240-3608. That's 866-240-3608. You can also go to astaroom.com, go to the tab to contact support. Also support @astaroom.com. Good. You also had some big news today, Eric, regarding Astaroom, new a la carte pricing for real estate photographers. Can you walk us through that?
Yeah. So last time when I was on the show, we offered a $60 flat rate paper tour, and the feedback we've been getting is that, hey, paper tour is great, because like sometimes my clients want Matterport tours, right? And I already pay for hosting over there, and I don't want to pay two. I'm just trying out Astaroom, right? I'm just trying to if this can replace Matterport, and I don't want to pay hosting every month. I might just have one tour in 1 month, and the person wanted it live for 3 months. That means I have to keep it live for 3 months, right? So, so they like the paper tour plan, but they don't like the fact that the photographer that I talked to didn't much appreciate the fact that they got everything, right? Because sometimes the agent don't want to pay for the floor plan, and so the floor plan becomes throwaway work because they can't resell that, right? So we have this new pricing just for photographer that instead of charging you a bundle, and we just do a la carte, right? So you still have the paper tour hosting, which is $12 for 6 months of hosting per tour. At the same time, you can add on whatever you want to add on, right? If you want a dollhouse, then it's one price. If you want a floor plan, it's one price. If you want us to add your images, it's one price, so that you increase the margin, basically.
I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so we can actually go over that. And so this is I am in the We Get Around Network forum. We Get Around Network forum, that's WGANforum.com. We're looking at today's show. And I went ahead and posted the pricing here. So the a la carte pricing, Eric, and then stop me if I'm wrong here, but for photographers, a la carte pricing, first, if you just want the Astaroom tour, it's $12 per active tour. You get 6 months of hosting. Then if you want to start adding to the a la carte, you can add the 3D dollhouse view. That's optional. So it's $10 per tour for up to 10 panoramas, up to 10 360s. And each additional 360 is $1. If you want 2D schematic floor plans, that's $15 for the tour. If you'd like the images enhanced, the 360 images enhanced, that's $1 per panorama. And then if you want 3D virtual staging, it's $35 per panorama. And I think you had one other number for me, Eric, and that's, this is all a la carte pay per tour. But if I wanted to pay a monthly fee in order to make this number go away.
Yeah, so it's $49 and you basically get unlimited.
And that's unlimited tours and hosting, and then you can pay for the a la carte.
Yes. And on top of that, you also have an option to remove the watermark, which was a requested feature from photographer as well.
Where does that show up?
Where? Oh, it is not. It wasn't stated in. It wasn't stated in the e-blast that you got, but it's new.
Is there a charge for no Asteroom branding?
No, if you're already using the unlimited, you're basically on the highest tier already. So that just, yeah.
Got it. So if, as a photographer, if you want to have a white label version of Asteroom, or probably more precise is to say not to have the Asteroom logo appear in any time during the tour, then select the $49 a month option, and then you can order everything for unlimited, and then you can order everything else a la carte.
Yep, that's right.
Okay, good. Then we had, I have a couple special offers. Is there anything else on pricing you wanted to cover?
No, that's it.
Okay.
And the 3D staging, right? We lowered the 3D staging price. I think it was, last time it was offered like $49, $50.
$49, yeah.
Yeah, and we got feedback from people saying that, hey, we will buy it if it's 35. And 35 seems to be the magic number for both agents and photographers. And we were like, okay, I guess 35 is, we'll just get people to try out the solution. And we've been getting good feedback. So we decided to make this a permanent change. So it would be $35.
Awesome. Eric, I'll buy if it's at $10, $360. So once now that you have that feedback, are you going to change it to 10? No. I thought I'd ask.
No joke though, we actually are working on improving that technology. So we continue to reduce the cost of producing them, then we continue to lower the price. Okay. So $10 may be very likely. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, well, awesome. Because I must say $35 to virtually stage a 360 spherical image is really crazy exciting. And if you're interested in this topic of virtual staging, Eric and I talked. I think we did at least an hour on the topic of virtual staging, and why that's important and how to do it, and surprise, you don't really need to virtually stage every 360. You might just do the living room, the bedroom, and got another room, living room, bedroom,
entrance, dining room.
Yeah, so you don't have to do every 360. Just a couple select ones is probably enough to help the potential buyer visualize what the space might look like. And then we do have some special offers for We Get Around Network forum members. And let me take you through the special pricing for that. Just take me a second to get to my screen here. And let's see. Okay, great. So Eric has been kind enough to extend some special offers for We Get Around Network forum members. Come join us, WGANforum.com. It's free to join the forum, and you get 50 plus great membership benefits. And here are two of those. The first is if you do want to order an Asteroom pay-per-tour bundle, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Eric, but the pay-per-tour bundle includes the tour, 6 months hosting, the 3D tour, the floor plans, and the images edited. You can get your first one free and just use the promo code WGAN Asteroom, WGAN Asteroom. And that way you can sample the very first time you use Asteroom, you can sample in order to see the tour, get the benefit of the 6 months of hosting, the floor plans, the dollhouse view, and the image enhancement, the light editing of the 360, of all the 360 images. So anyway, that's pretty cool. And then if you decide that you like ordering Asteroom pay-per-tour bundles rather than a la carte, that's still available for We Get Around Network forum members. The promo code for that is WGAN Asteroom MSP. That's M as in mother, S as in Sam, P as in Paul. So again, the promo code in order to be able to order Asteroom Paper Tour bundles at $49 each is WGAN Asteroom MSP. And I did want to take everyone just for a moment to the landing page, two landing pages for Asteroom. Let's see. I think that'll make sense. So I am at asteroom.com, and so this is the front door for Asteroom. And the pricing here is really for the realtors, and then the pricing for photographers. And even the short version of it is asteroom.com/photographers. But you can always get to this page going to pricing for photographers, learn how Asteroom can work for you. And this is one way that you can sign up to get the special pricing. So Eric, do you want to take us through this particular page? What happens when I click on here?
Yeah, you just click on it and it's going to ask a couple questions, like how many listings do you do? And if you do more than 3 a week, that you qualify for the variable pricing, the pricing that Dan just showed. That's it. And we will email you the instruction of how to enroll to your email.
Yeah, super simple. So if you want to get the special a la carte pricing that Eric has just talked about, you can simply either go to asteroom.com and under pricing, select photographers, or go to asteroom.com/photographers, select that button about, lost my place. Let me go back, just take a look. Contact us for volume pricing. So select 3 or more as the number of tours that you do. And I want to say it's within about 10 minutes, you'll automatically get an email. Does that sound right?
5-10 minutes, yeah.
5 or 10 minutes, you'll get an email so that you can get going with the Asteroom Paper Tour pricing. So Eric, was there anything else to talk about in terms of pricing?
No, that's basically it.
Okay, I think we covered a lot of ground today. Is there anything else that you wanted to brief us on? Any other news? Anything that's coming soon?
Anything that's coming soon. So we did continue to, I think portal integration is one of the most important feature that our customers, realtors and photographers, even brokers ask us to do. So we'll continue to expand on that. So realtor.com is just the beginning. There will be more being added in the near future. And our goal is try to help everybody to create stunning 3D tours with doll houses and floor plans at ease. And of course, with distribution to the millions of home buyers on the portals. So yeah, we will continue to march toward this goal. And I'm excited that in a couple of weeks, in a couple of weeks to months, I might be back at the show and share other exciting integrations. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Nice.
Just putting up. We'll find out. Yeah.
Maybe not, but stay tuned. When Eric's got some big news, we'll bring him back to WGAN TV Live at 5. Find out what that is. If you're just discovering us, and I should do a shout out. I know we get around. WGAN TV is syndicated in lots of places right now where people can view it, either in the We Get Around Network forum, YouTube, etc. So just a shout out to the Asteroom Facebook page because we're streaming live. So those watching on the Asteroom page, a special hello. Eric, before we go, I just want to say, congratulations, how awesome it is that Asteroom is now syndicated to Realtor.com. That's a huge accomplishment. I imagine you're going to keep your foot on the pedal to keep, as you mentioned, adding other syndicated opportunities to make it easier for photographers and add huge value to Asteroom photographers to be able to offer Asteroom 3D tours to their real estate agent clients. And I think for any of our viewers today that are kind of just discovering Ask the Room 3D tours for the first time, Eric has been on our show 3 times. He's done deep dives, everything you wanted to know about Ask the Room, about how to shoot Ask the Room, about how to do post-production with Ask the Room, about doing virtual staging, about floor plans, about editing. So you'll find all of this in the We Get Around Network forum, all the shows that we've done, wganforum.com. Thank you all for joining us. Eric, thank you for being on the show again.
Oh, thank you, Dan. Thanks everybody for watching.
Awesome. We've been visiting with Eric C. Eric is the co-founder and CEO of Ask the Room. I'm Dan Smigrod, founder of the We Get Around Network forum, and you've been watching WGAN TV Live at 5.